Hello all you mathletes out there, it's Root Beer here, and I'm going to continue talking about contest preparation. I thought I'd talk about sort of important numbers or theorems and this sort of idea of things that you're virtually guaranteed to see, because maybe you've recognized it as a recurring concept while you're practicing, or just things that I recommend that you know. Okay, now I'm going to give you a list not only of things that I've seen in general on contests, not for any one particular contest. I'll mention that when I do my recurring concepts video, but just things that tend to pop up a whole lot in general, and things that I recommend you just know so you aren't bumbling around thinking about them. Okay, so in no particular order, if you're writing up a higher level contest, typically a written contest, maybe grade 11, grade 12, I recommend you know some circle theorems. Some theorems like the Star Trek theorem is a good one. Or just things like angles subtended by the same chord are equal inside a circle, that sort of thing. So those are good to know. Pythagorean triangles, who doesn't know the Pythagorean theorem? But knowing certain Pythagorean triples is good. So your 3, 4, 5 triangle, your 5, 12, 13 triangle. You should know those up to a certain amount. 7, 24, 25 pops up a fair bit. There are some odd ones out there, like 8, 15, 17. That one doesn't come up a whole lot, but he's still a useful extra one to know. And they're multiple. 6, 8, 10 pops up a whole lot. 9, 12, 15 is another really good one. Knowing some Pythagorean triples just off the top of your head means you don't have to think. You just know, they've given me a triangle, it's got 9, 12, 15, so automatically I know there's a right angle in there. Or even it can give you intuition. So there's plenty of problems I've seen where there's a 3 and a 4 and another length, and I think, that's just asking to be a 5. It's a math contest. There's got to be a 3, 4, 5 triangle somewhere. It's just asking to be a 5. And so that can even help give me intuition, even if I don't yet know it's a 5. Maybe my intermediate goal can be show that that's a 5. Okay? Things that I recommend you know. Fibonacci is a fairly recurring concept in lots of places. I recommend you know your Fibonacci sequence up to probably about 144, so the first 12. So we're talking 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144, I think, and then goes 2, 33, 377, 610, I think. Knowing those up to a certain amount, knowing your squares up to a certain amount, so being able to recognize, 529, that's a perfect square, that's 23 cubed. That's an important thing to be able to do. I would say maybe know your squares up to 1,000. I don't mean 1,000 squared, but like 31 squared, 32 squared. That's sort of the cutoff point for what I know. 32 squared is 1,024, so that's just past 1,000. Knowing your cubes up to the thousands, so 10 cubed is 1,000, so that's sort of the cutoff, but knowing something like 7 cubed is 343, being able to recognize that and being able to make the connection that when I see 729, that I'm thinking in my head, that's 9 cubed, or that's 27 squared. And in general, just knowing powers. So being able to look at 243 and say, that's 3 to the 5. These are extra things that you can just know. They're quite useful. Your 20 times tables is, in school they always did a 12 times tables, but I say for extra safety, know your 20 times tables. It can mean the difference between, I've got to reach for my calculator, and, I can do that. Okay, it's always good to have your calculator on hand to double check these things, but being able to know them is, off the top of your head is quite good. While we're on the subject, powers of 2 and powers of 3 are pretty good. I have mine memorized up to about 1,000. Powers of primes in general are pretty good. Speaking of which, knowing your primes up to the first, up to 100 are pretty good. There's 25 prime numbers between 2 and 97. So those are good to know just off the top of your head. Some of the 3-digit ones in the hundreds are pretty good to know as well. They can be useful. I can't tell you the number of times when I've had my calculator out and I'm trying to factor something, and say I wanted to factor 751 and see, is that prime? Maybe it's even bigger, and I don't know. The only way I can tell whether or not something's prime is say, oh, can I divide it by 2? I can't. What's the next number? 3. Oh, I can't. I don't need to check does it divide by 4, because if it didn't divide by 2, it certainly won't divide by 4. So you can shorten your work testing whether or not a number is prime if you know your prime. So you immediately skip to, oh, does it divide by 5? It doesn't. Oh, does it divide by 7? It doesn't. Oh, 11, 13, 17, 19, rather than checking all the numbers in between. Being able to say, gee, is 37 prime? Should I check this one or what? Then you're sort of wasting your time. Knowing certain factorizations are good. I'm trying to think of a good example of that. Knowing that 111 is 3 times 37 is pretty good. Knowing that 1001 is 7 times 11 times 13 has sometimes saved my bacon on contests. Knowing your factorials up to 10 factorial. Off the top of my head, I could probably do up to 8 factorial. But if I were preparing for a competition, I'd probably do 10 factorial, up to 10 factorial, maybe even 11. Just because it's good to be able to recognize those numbers or to be able to write them down without having to think about it. What else? Binomial coefficients. By knowing the binomial theorem and knowing Pascal's triangle up to, say, the 5th or 6th row can help you when you're expanding out expressions like 2x plus y to the power of 6. Okay? Expanding that out rather than writing out 6 copies of that and foiling it out, first insides, lasts, whatever. Just knowing the binomial theorem and some of the more common binomial coefficients can really help you and save you a lot of time. Oh, what else? So, binomial theorem, of course, a good theorem to know. Sine and cosine for some of the more common angles, like sine of 30 degrees, cosine of 30 degrees, you should know these. 45 degrees, 60, 90 degrees. And knowing important identities as well. So sine squared plus cos squared equals 1. Or what to do when you see sine of a plus b. It expands out into sine of a times cos of b plus sine of b times cos of a. Knowing those things, some basic trig identities, is always a good thing. Unfortunately, I can't just create a single list and say, go study these and you'll be set for all the Waterloo contests or everything. People who are coaching you, people who are running sort of a community where they do contests, people online on forums devoted to this sort of stuff could also probably give you their personal list. And my list right now is sort of aimed at high school contests because that's right now what I'm going through on my channel. But there's a different list for first-year math exams, and there's a different list for writing university competitions. There's a different list for writing entrance exams and comprehensives for grad studies. So part of your long-term planning should be getting to know people who could give you a list of what should I know. But I'd say if you're watching my channel to do sort of the high school competitions, that if you get the Pythagorean theorem, circle theorems, binomial theorem, your primes up to whatever, and your 10 times tables and whatever, that should serve you a great deal. Knowing Pythagorean triples, knowing your Fibonacci sequence up to a certain amount. Watching my videos, I will point out, oh, this is a good thing to know a lot about, but I don't think I can further expand on my list right now. So maybe you'll have to watch my videos. No, but I don't really have anything else to add. I don't have anything else written that I haven't already said, and I've said some things that aren't on my list. So I think that's about it. If you guys have suggestions for important numbers or important theorems that you think will help for just about any high school level competition or any university level competition, feel free to leave a comment about them. But I've given you my list of things that I recommend casually to people that they know. And if you go out now and you learn your cubes up to 1,000, you learn your 20 times tables, and you learn your sine and your cosines, I think you will find the next time you write a Fermat or a Euclid or a Fryer that you'll be a little better served. Okay? So thank you guys for watching, and join me in the next video when I talk about more contest prep.